So welcome, thank you for joining me today for iMeet Central University. This is the iMeet Central 101 Nuts and Bolts class. Cover the basics of logging in, navigating to projects, uploading files and making comments, participating in discussions, and working on tasks. We'll get started. So iMeet Central is a cloud-based project management tool. You can log into iMeet Central from any workstation so long as you're connected to the internet. You use a browser. I prefer to use Chrome. It tends to work the best for me, but Firefox is great. You can use Internet Explorer if you need to as well. I have a browser open here on my screen here, and you should see I've got a couple files that we'll play with here in a minute on my desktop. But I'm going to go ahead and maximize this. When you first log into iMeet Central, you land on a page known as your dashboard. The dashboard is a single site that pulls together information from all the different projects that you're currently working on. From your dashboard, you can see and navigate to any overdue tasks that you have in various projects. There is an upcoming running 5-day calendar that will show you all tasks and events that you're participating in. If you use the Review and Approve tool in iMeet Central and you are participating on a proof, you'll see a quick link to those proofs. And you'll also find an activity stream that shows you activity from the system across workspaces that you're a member of. In the top right corner, you're going to find a list of workspaces that you've recently viewed, as well as any company shortcuts if your company administrator has created any. When you first sign up for iMeet Central, it's recommended that the first place you go is your profile. If you click your name in the top right corner of iMeet Central, you'll get a drop-down menu where you can access your user profile to update contact information and job title information. Your profile page is also where you can go to update your notification settings. iMeet Central, by default, sends out daily digest emails. If you don't want to receive those emails, you can stop that digest frequency here, or you can increase frequency if that's your interest. If you want to be notified about changes in the system every 2 hours, you can do that. The other thing that you can do within your profile that's important to check on is update your photo. So anytime you post a comment, upload a file, similar to social media, there's a little picture that goes along with it. So make sure that you upload a profile photo so that people know who you are when they see your little icon in the system. There are some other things that you can update in here. This is where you change your username and your password, so this credentials section. And the preferences area is where you can set your default time zone and calendar start day. So all of this is accessible by clicking your name in the top right corner and going to your profile. There are some other things that you'll find underneath your name, such as a My Tasks page, which shows you a list of all the tasks that you've been assigned in iMeet Central across all the different projects that you're working on. There's also a link to a personal calendar, which is a nice 30-day view into all the stuff that you're doing. You can switch this view between a week or a month layout. So if you want to see a calendar in a week or a month layout, you can switch that here. And there's a little legend that you can expand that will show you a list of the projects that these items are currently associated with. Finally, some other things that you can do in this name drop-down menu is you can access a list of reports that maybe you've created and saved. Reporting is an advanced feature. We do a course on that another day. But if you want to play around with that, you can. And you also have access to a list of favorites. So if you ever favorite like a file, I'll show you how to do that. You can quickly access favorites here. To get back to the dashboard at any time, you just click the dashboard button in the top left corner, and you're back to where you started. iMeet Central is organized into what are known as workspaces. A workspace is a site within the program where users can collaborate on project data. Users who have the permission to create workspaces can create a workspace for any reason. If you're working on a project that's going to last you a couple days, you might create a workspace for that project to upload files, keep track of tasks, and participate in discussions. And after a couple of days, that project is over. You can close that workspace or archive it, or in rare cases, you may delete workspaces. You can create workspaces for long-term campaigns, a project that maybe lasts 6 months to a year, and you're going to have hundreds of files and dozens of tasks, and you're going to have your entire team working together, you can still create a workspace to house all of that information. To see a list of workspaces that you have access to, you click on the Workspaces button up here in the top left corner. Now, this might not be every single workspace in the company. Users are added to workspaces when they need to participate in that project. So you might not be added to everything. But every workspace you see here on this list, you do have access to. You can click into any one of these workspaces to find files, discussions, and tasks related to that particular project. You can also click this little drop-down arrow beside the Workspace button to reveal a list of workspace groups. Now, workspace groups are just a way of bucketing workspaces. So if you notice here in the Workspaces list, you'll see it says Workspace Title, and then it says Group Name. You can see these group names reflected in this drop-down menu. So for example, within the Campaigns Workspace group, I have a number of workspaces which would be considered campaign projects. Now for our demonstration today, and to show you how these workspaces operate, we're going to spend time in this one, the Macy's 2018 website redesign. Now to get to the workspace, I can just click this title right here, but there's actually an easier way to get to projects in iMeet Central, and that's to use the search bar at the top. So if you know the name of a workspace, a file, a task, a milestone, you can simply search for it and navigate directly to that object. So rather than click this button right here, which is the simple and easy way, I'm just going to go up here to where it says search. I'm going to type in the word Macy, and I can see in the look ahead drop down, I have a workspace called Macy's 2018 website redesign, and there's a discussion called Macy's website redesign priorities. I'm going to go ahead and navigate to that workspace. So this is a workspace. Anytime you do work in iMeet Central, you have to do it in a workspace. So your first step after you log in is to navigate to a workspace where you're working on a project. In this case, this workspace is about 2018 website redesign we're doing for Macy's. All of our creative assets and files, tasks, and discussions about that website redesign will be in here. Now there's a value add to that, right? If you're working on a project with a team of people and you're emailing back and forth with each other, it can sometimes be really difficult to pull together a list of all the conversations around that project in your email client. You can search for keywords, but if somebody doesn't use the word Macy website in their email, it might get missed. So the value add of using a workspace to organize project data is that if you ever need to find all the conversations about this particular project, you just go into this workspace and you can find them here. Workspaces can be fully customized. There are a list of tabs here across the top of the workspace which will take you to various features that are available for this project. For example, a files and discussions area, a project management section, and a calendar. Now this calendar is unique to this one workspace. It's different than your personal calendar that you find underneath your name. Every workspace has its own calendar. The Home tab, which is where you land by default, the layout here can be completely rearranged, but what we're looking at here is a system default layout for any new project workspace created that isn't customized. This is what it looks like. This Home tab shows me a list of overdue tasks in the top left corner, and directly below it is just a little 3-day calendar. It's really designed to give you an at-a-glance of what I'm working on today and what I'm working on tomorrow. There's a recent activity feed specific to this workspace in the bottom left-hand corner, and up here in the top right, you'll see a list of all of our people who are participating and working on this project. So again, important to update that profile image so that people know who you are. In the middle of the right side of the screen is a recent discussions area, which functions a lot like a message board. So for teams that need a place to have conversations around a project, where the conversations aren't specific to one particular file or a task, you just want to have a conversation around the project as a whole, you use what are known as discussions. We have a couple discussions currently happening in this workspace. One of them was started by Helen, and it's called New Design Ideas. And to view that discussion, I can click on its title, and it will open up that discussion. discussions work like message board forums. Someone starts a discussion, like Helen started this one, and then I can respond to that discussion. Now, any comments that I make are going to be visible to every user in this workspace. So it is truly a collaborative environment. If you go in here and you start talking about another person, for example, if they're in this workspace, they're going to see your comment. Underneath the discussion, you'll notice there is a comment box. And the comment box in iMeet Central is where you do a lot of your collaboration. There are a couple cool things that we can do within comments. Within a comment, we have some custom formatting options like bold, italics, underline. I can highlight text or make things certain colors if I want to call attention. I can create numbered or bulleted lists. I can also embed hyperlinks, and I can attach or relate files within my comment. The coolest thing about comments, however, is the ability to @mention users in the conversation. So here's a conversation started by Helen. Looks like we're doing some updates regarding color swatching. There's a photo shoot planned for May. We got a new web developer coming in December. Sweet. I'm going to go ahead and respond. This all sounds great. Super excited for these updates. And let's say I want to pull in a team member and notify them of this discussion. If I type in the @ symbol, it allows me to pick from a list of users in this workspace. Not all the users in the company, just the users in this workspace. So I can come in here and I can say, you know what? I want David Manning to know about this conversation. I can pick his name from that list, or if I just go back a little bit, I can just type in @David, and there it is. And I can press Enter and compose my comment. You should take a look at this conversation. When you @mention a user in a comment, it's going to send them an email notification. That email is going to include a lot of useful information, including the comment that you made and a link to the discussion, including additional information about that conversation. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Comment down here at the bottom. It posts my comment, and the other thing it does is it subscribes David to this discussion. So the next time I make a comment, you'll see it says Notify Subscribers, and it will notify David, and it will notify Helen. Subscribers in iMeet Central are sent email notifications anytime the thing they're subscribed to is changed or there's a new version uploaded. I can manage subscribers by clicking the Manage Subscribers link here, where I can add or remove people from the conversation. Additionally, if I come up here to the top right corner where it says Share, and I click this drop-down menu, I can manage subscribers here. Removing a subscriber from a discussion does not hide that discussion from them. They can still log in and read it in the workspace. It's just that they're not going to get email notifications. So be mindful of that. Don't think that removing a subscriber means they can't read this thing. So that's the online discussion feature. Let me go back to the Home tab here. And in this case, we have a couple discussions going on related to this project. The Files and Discussions tab is where you are going to upload and participate on files that you upload from your computer into the system. When you click on the Files and Discussions tab, you're either going to land in one of two places. You're either going to land on the All Items list, which shows you all of the files that have been uploaded or created in this workspace, or you're going to be landed on the root folder, which is the same name as the workspace. In which case, you're not going to see a bunch of files, you're going to see a list of folders that fall underneath the root. So be mindful that your experience may be different workspace to workspace. Whether you land on all items or the root folder is a workspace setting configured by an administrator. But wherever you land, when you fall into Files and Discussions, you're essentially in a cloud storage environment similar to a Dropbox or a Google Drive. Files in Workspaces are organized into folders, just like on your computer. All on the left-hand side, you'll see a list of folders. Folders can be nested underneath one another as well. So if you want to create like a tree of folders, you can. To create a new folder, you simply click the New button here at the top of the File List area. and select Folder from the drop-down list. In this case, you might want to create a folder called Wireframes. Maybe you're going to have some wireframes uploaded and you need to find them. I would create a wireframes folder and then just let your team know if you're uploading a wireframe, this is where you put it. Uploading files into iMeet Central is simple. All you need to do is have the file on your computer, and you can drag and drop it directly into the system. You can drag and drop multiple files at the same time, and you can upload files with a maximum size of 5 GB per file. So if you drag and drop like 4 files, and each one is 5 GB, they should all upload. Once you upload a file into iMeet Central, it appears here in the file list area, which you can change how it sorts over here in the top right corner. You can sort by type, last modified, and name. And you can also change the way that things are previewed. So you can view things as a condensed, a thumbnail, or a tile gallery. Let me go into a folder. This one, Creative Assets, has 8 items in it. And when I view this as a gallery, you'll see I get these nice little thumbnails. Now there are a lot of things that you can do within this list view. If I switched back to the condensed view layout, for example, and I check the checkbox beside a file, I can download a file, throw it in the trash, and from the More drop-down menu, I can email these files. Emailing files outside of the system is only allowed if an access and security setting is programmed on the back end. In this case, it's not enabled, so you're going to get this error message. But let me show you what it looks like if that security setting is enabled. So I want you to not worry about what I'm clicking on right now. This is some advanced setting stuff. You don't need to know how to do this, but I'm going to do a quick update. And once I've got that updated, there we go. I'll go back to that folder, and I'm going to go back to that list of files here. If I select a file, and I click the More drop-down, and I click on Email Files, you'll be able to compose an email to an outside participant, someone who's not an iMeet Central user, and it will include a public link to that file. So you do have the ability to share files outside of the system to non-iMeet Central users. Some other cool things that you can do with files and discussions is you can apply file statuses to things. Notice that this picture of an alleyway has a status of pending approval, and this file here, the mural picture, has a status of draft. You can change file statuses from the drop-down picker over on the right-hand side. For example, maybe this is now approved. And you can sort files by status within a workspace by going up here to the top left corner where it says Files by Folder and changing that to Files by Status. So this is a list of all of my approved files in this workspace. If I click on this one, Pending Approval, this is a list of my pending approval files in this workspace, regardless of folder. And again, I got to this layout by clicking up here where it says Files by Status and just changing it to Files by Type, by Tag, or by Folder. So those are the different ways that you can sort and filter a list of files within the system. Again, you can drag and drop files from your computer directly into the platform. And if you ever put a file in the wrong spot and you're like, whoops, I didn't mean to put that in the Creative Assets folder, moving files between folders is as simple as dragging and dropping them from one folder to another. So maybe this picture of the alleyway really needs to be in the Wireframes folder. I left-click to select the file, and then I just click and drag and move it into my Wireframes folder. In addition to uploading files into the system, you can also create files in iMeet Central. Similar to a Google Doc, if you're in a folder and click the new drop-down menu right here, you can create discussions and online documents directly within the site. Online documents are a great way for you to record notes or processes or standard operating procedures. it works like a built-in word processor. So I can go ahead in here and I can say, I'm going to call this meeting notes, and I'll make the date March 21, and I'll do attendees, and I'll do notes. We talked about stuff. I can use my handy-dandy text editor to customize what this looks like. And once I've got my document looking the way I want it to, I can click on Save in the top left corner. I can title it whatever I need. I can give it a status. And then I can click on OK to create this online document. Online documents can be viewed by any person in this workspace, and they can be commented on. So you can have conversations around these things as well. Whether you decide to use online documents or create Word documents locally and then just upload those Word documents to the system is really up to you. Where I see people using the online document feature a lot is to just create some standard operating procedures in iMeet Central, or to create sort of like a templated creative brief. I've seen some people use it that way. Once a file is uploaded into the system, you can preview that file directly within the platform by clicking its name in the file list area. The file preview window is where you can see data about the file. In the top right corner, you can see when it was last modified. You can see its current status. You can also give files a description. If you hover over the description field and click that little pencil icon, you can include something contextual. Photo taken down the street. Again, a comment box on the file is where you can notify other team members of this file and have conversations around it. Now this is where I want to just pause for a moment and highlight this feature. One of the most common reasons we see people come over to iMeet Central from either using Outlook or spreadsheets to manage their projects is project managers and creatives especially, they say, I'm having the hardest time finding stuff. Someone sent me an email with a file attached, and then I saved it, but then somebody else got that email, and then they updated it, and then they emailed us, and there's a new version, but I don't know where it is. And one of the worst things about email clients these days is that if you try to search for a file name, sometimes you can't find it in your email, so it can be kind of a nightmare. One of the biggest value adds of using iMeet Central is that when you upload files into iMeet Central and then you have conversations around them, like you @mention someone and you say, hey David, here's that image you needed. Not only are you still sending email notifications to your team members, but if they ever misplace that email, it's so easy to just log in, navigate to this workspace, and find the file in that shared folder directory. So if I can impress any habit change using iMeet Central, it's this. Don't ever attach a file to an email ever again. If you're working on a project with someone and you need them to have a file, upload it into a workspace, @mention them in a comment, and from that point moving forward, you both have access to that file in this shared environment, and you have a history of whatever conversation took place about it. One of the coolest things about iMeet Central is that we save all versions. So let's say someone needs to download this file. I can click the download button right here, or if I want, I can click this drop-down arrow and click on download and lock. This prevents other users from working on the file while I'm looking at it. So I can say I'm updating this image and click on OK. The file is downloaded locally to your computer. There it is. You can then put it on your computer and work on it in whatever program you like to use. Once you have finished making your changes to this file, navigate back into the workspace and you can upload a new version. You can upload a new version in one of two ways. Either you can open the file previewer and click on Upload New Version, or if you're in the file list area, simply drag and drop that file back into the file list. Doing so will automatically upload a new version to that file, and stamp it with a version number. This file is now version 2. When you open that file again, because you are the one who downloaded and locked that file, when you upload it, you've essentially checked it back into the system. It automatically unlocks it. Notice in the file previewer, it now says version 2, and any comments I make on this file will have a stamp to indicate what version you commented on. Here's the latest. Notice in the comment bar on the right-hand side, it indicates what version you were talking about. To access prior versions of a file, open the file previewer and click on the More drop-down menu in the top right corner. From here, go down to the Version History button. You can view, download, and save past versions of any file so long as you're uploading multiple versions. So other things that you can do within the File Previewer window is from the More drop-down menu, you can add a file to your favorites list. You can change its status, view the audit log, as well as archive, copy, move, rename, or send the file to the trash. If you use the Review and Approve tool and have a proof license, you can convert a file into a proof, which would invite an outside participant to provide comments and feedback on the file. There's an Edit button that appears at the top of the File Previewer that links to our Cloud Assist platform. If you upload a file that you can edit locally on your computer, like a doc, a PowerPoint deck, an Excel spreadsheet, if you click the Edit button up here in the top right corner, our Cloud Assist plugin will be installed on your computer. So the first time you click it, you have to install Cloud Assist. But once that's installed, if you click on Edit, it will open that file locally on your computer so you can make changes. And when you save changes, they're posted automatically back into iMeet Central. Finally, the Share drop-down menu right here is where you can manage subscribers. You can share a file via email, for example. So if you want to send an email to someone with a link, you can. You also, from here, have the ability to copy a permalink or a public link. Now, the public link that you can send to an outside, a person who's not in iMeet Central, when they view that public link, it will look like this. Files viewed using a public link will not reveal any comments made on that file, so that comment box is no longer there. It will not tell them who last modified or created the file. It also does not tell the person if there are any other versions. A person viewing a file using a public link can preview the file in their browser or on their phone. It actually looks really good on their phone. And they can download the file. If a person downloads a file using a public link, you'll have record of it in the file's audit log. So if I now go to the More drop-down menu and look at the audit log, I'll see here that an anonymous user viewed the file via a shared link. We're not able to capture who looked at it, but we are able to capture their IP address. You can use that to see how many unique visitors saw the file. I'm going to pause real quick. I know you haven't posed any questions in the group chat, but I do want to take this moment. We're going to move on to project management. But what we've just covered is how to create folders, how to upload files, collaborate around files. We talked about what the value is of uploading and making comments on files and how it should eliminate or replace ever attaching a file to an email. We talked about the different ways that you can sort and view files in the system, and we talked about some of the features and functionality of the file previewer itself. At this point, we're going to move on to the project management piece of it, and that's going to be the last half of our presentation, and that's going to be sort of the last feature that we really discuss as part of this 101 curriculum. Within any project workspace, you can create and manage project timelines. To view a list of project timelines and tasks within a workspace, you're going to go to the Project Management tab. The Project Management tab, by default, has 6 options. There is a Project Overview page, a Tasks and Milestones page, a link to quickly see tasks that are assigned to you within this workspace, a milestone list, an interactive Gantt chart, which you can use to slide project timelines around, which is really nice, and a status report. You are likely going to spend most of your time in the tasks and milestones area. Project management in iMeet Central is divided into three things. Tasks, which you assign to users, give start and due dates, and set priorities. Task lists, which you use to organize tasks together into a common theme or phase. And milestones, which organize multiple task lists together under a single deadline. The most common use for a milestone is a milestone per deliverable, or a milestone per project. In this case, when I come to the Tasks and Milestones page for this workspace, you'll notice over on the left-hand side are a list of task lists, of which there aren't any. There's an inbox, which is meant to be a miscellaneous bucket for any random tasks that you just need to keep track of. Maybe you need to remind yourself to return call to client, for example. I'll click on Add to add a task to the inbox task list. Below the task list area is a milestones area, and this is where we recommend you organize your project plans. In this workspace, we have two things that we're working on. We're working on a website update. That website update is due on March 21st and includes two task lists, a design task list with 3 tasks and a QA testing task list with 3 tasks. We separate tasks into different lists to indicate the completion of specific phases. So when I'm done with the design task list, I know that all of my design work is done. I'm now in QA. I also have a radio ad that I'm working on that's due on March 23rd. And we have 2 radio ads that we need to put together. One is a 1-minute and one is a 30-second radio ad. I've decided to group both of those under a single milestone because they're both due on March 23rd. So you'll see that there are 2 different theories of usage here. One of them is a sequential task list, like the website update. First we're going to do design, then we're going to do QA testing. And another use case here where we have 2 task lists for 2 different radio ads that both need to be completed by March 23rd. How you and your team decide to use milestones and task lists is really up to you. But always remember that there are only milestones and task lists. There are no sub-task lists, and there are no super milestones. Let's take a look at this milestone website update. The Milestone Details page includes a lot of information about this particular deliverable. It has a due date and an assignee. The person assigned to the milestone is overseeing the entirety of the project. In this case, Andrea Karavis is probably the project manager responsible for all the team members who are working on this particular website update. I see a list of task lists here that I can open here or I can open over here on the left. I also, if I scroll down, I'll find an Attachments and Related Files area. And finally, at the bottom, a Comments and Properties tab. Relating files to a project plan is a great way to associate key assets to a timeline. So for this website update, maybe we're using some pictures that are in the Files and Discussions area for that update. I'm going to go ahead and click on Add Link to File right here, and it's going to open up my folder tree. So I can use this to navigate to my Creative Assets list. And I'm going to be using that picture of, how about this one, of this mural. When I relate a file to the milestone, a team member looking at this project who's thinking about tasks and task lists might decide to preview that file from right here. Files that are related to a task or a milestone will have a Related To field here on the right-hand side. You can update the relations between a file and a project plan from the More drop-down menu as well. So if you're ever looking at a file and you're like, I want to relate this to a milestone, if you happen to know the name of the milestone, you can just do it from right here. When I exit out of the file previewer, in this case, I do not land in the Files and Discussions area. I land back on the project plan. Within these task lists, like this one, the Design Task List, I'll find a set of tasks. Tasks can be given additional information. Tasks have a title. They can have a priority of low, medium, or high. You can assign a task to one or multiple users. This task is assigned to Helen, but if I click to edit, I can also assign it to David. Tasks can also have a start and a due date, and they can have a status of either to do, in progress, or completed. You can bulk action tasks by clicking their checkboxes and using the buttons that appear at the top. So for example, I can click to edit and complete these tasks, or change their status to in progress. I can also click to edit and change the assignments. So for example, I can say assign these to me. I can also click to edit, and from the More drop-down menu, I can move these tasks to a different list. I can shift their dates or update their priorities all at once. Finally, I can use the bulk action item here to delete a group of tasks. Tasks are created by typing in a task title in this box up here at the top of the task list. So for this particular task list, I need to get approval, I need to build a wireframe, and I need to insert graphics. But I realize that I also need to get client sign-off. So I'm going to create a new task called Get Client Approval, and I can click on Add, or I can click on More Options. When you select More Options, you can configure all of the details about the task at the time of creation. Now this is an important note. When you go through the More Options menu in creating a task, you have the opportunity at this time to notify your assignees. So if you want email notifications to go out to someone when they're assigned a task, this is the way to do it. So for example, I can come in here and I can say, I want to assign this to David, and I want him to get an email. I'll program a due date. I can give it a description. Descriptions and tasks are used to record the specific instructions for how to mark it as complete. I always recommend that your task titles be as short as possible. Get client approval. Great. If there is additional information that David Manning needs, I always put it in the description. To get client approval, send final files via email. Remind them of 24-hour deadline. Once you receive their email confirmation, complete this task. And I can use some text editors here to make this pretty. And I'll click on Create down here in the bottom right-hand corner. When you create a task, that task is always added to the bottom of the task list. If you would like to manually rearrange your task lists so that they appear in a specific order, make sure you sort by this custom sort order column over here on the left. And then you can drag and drop and place these tasks in any particular order. Now, most teams like to sort by their start and due dates. That's typically a logical arrangement. But some teams like to go in here and manually rearrange, and you can. You can force things into a different order if you need to. When you change the order of these tasks, you are changing the order as it appears to everyone in this workspace. It's not just for you. Everybody in the workspace will see this new arrangement. And I see your question. When you bulk assign an assignee, it doesn't allow you to notify assignees. So I then have to go into each one in edit mode and select the Notify Assignee box. You're right. You're absolutely right. And there are a lot of users who come to us with this question. They say, well, if I have a project like this one, and I say, Let's reassign all this stuff to David, for example. There's no email that goes out. Anywhere in the system, you can click to edit, even if it's bulk edit. It does not send email notifications when you click to edit. And the reason why we designed it that way is that we got a lot of feedback from project managers who said, I like to go into my task lists and make a bunch of edits, but I don't want people to get a bunch of emails until I'm ready for them to know about it. Now, granted, if David Manning logs in right now and he goes to my tasks, he's going to see that he's assigned all these things. But here's the story we usually tell when these types of things happen. You're a project manager working on a complex project plan. You're using bulk edit to make a bunch of changes. And then you say, I am ready for this person to be notified. When that happens, the best way to do it and the simplest way to do it is this. I'm here in my task list. I've made a bunch of changes. So I changed that date. I used my bulk action to shift a bunch of dates. Maybe I made a mistake. Whoops, this one should be assigned to someone else. Great. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up one step. I'm going to go up to my milestone. I'm going to go down to where it says comments, and I'm going to notify them this way. You've been assigned some new tasks in the design task list. Please let me know if you've got questions. Comment. Why do we recommend going this route? A couple reasons. First of all, it allows you as a project manager to make mistakes. If you assign a person to a bunch of tasks and then go, whoops, that person didn't just get a bunch of emails. It does happen from time to time, maybe not often, but it does give you that grace. It also allows you to make a batch of changes to tasks before that notification gets sent. So if you're changing the assignee, when that email goes out, it's going to show the start and due date. If you then go change the due date, they're going to get another email if you're getting notifications from click to edit. So it streamlines when those notifications go out. The other reason why we make this recommendation is that project managers were coming to us and they were saying, I see that people have been changed. I don't know why they got changed or who changed them. Now granted, you can go into the task list and you can go to the task. And if you have the audit log enabled, there will be an audit log tab here that will show you all of that stuff. But even better, if you're using the system this way, you have a history of that conversation at the milestone level. And if David or Eddie respond back to that email, if they hit reply and they're like, I'm too busy, their comment gets saved in the system as well. So thank you for the question. I really appreciate that because that is a very common process that project managers run into. And again, the simplest and most effective way is make your changes, go to the milestone, make a quick comment. And if you've got a really well-trained team, sometimes all you really need is just do an app mention and say, see updates, and that's it. All right. So here are some other things that we can do within project plans, especially as it relates to using a milestone per project. A common question that we get is, how do you shift timelines? Let's take a look at this website update milestone a little bit closer. I'm going to go ahead and just rearrange a couple things here so it looks pretty. One of the benefits of using a milestone to organize your project timelines is that the milestone due date has control over the entire project. So, for example, this website update, it's due on March 21st. All of the tasks within these lists roll up to that due date, hypothetically. Yep, published to site, March 21st. Let's say that the website update gets pushed. It gets pushed out by a week. Rather than going through every single task and manually clicking to edit or using the bulk action tools to shift all of your dates, if you're using a milestone, all you need to do is update the milestone due date. If I go to the milestone detail page and click on edit, and I change the milestone due date to say March 28th, the system will automatically shift all of the tasks belonging to that milestone by a corresponding number of days. Even better, it will skip your non-working days. So you're never at risk of shifting a task deadline onto a Saturday or a Sunday or a holiday if you have those recorded in company setup. When I click on Update, it's going to automatically update the milestone due date, and it is going to automatically update all of the included tasks. So now the due date for the milestone is March 28th. If I go back into my QA testing task list, I will see that my publish to site date has also been updated. The other reason why we recommend using a milestone per project is for reporting purposes. If you're ever wondering how many projects of a given type I've done or how many tasks do I have for a particular project, bucketing things into milestones creates some really nice reporting visibility. The last reason why we recommend using a milestone per deliverable or a milestone per project is that within every milestone, you have the ability to, from the More drop-down menu, edit the Milestone Gantt. So let's take a look at the Gantt chart. You can get to the Gantt chart a number of ways. This is how I like to get there. I like to go to the milestone, and then I click More, and I click on Milestone Gantt. But you also have the ability from up here in the Project Management tab to go to the Gantt chart, which is a global Gantt chart across the entire workspace. It will show you all milestones. But I'm going to go this route, Milestone Gantt. The Gantt chart allows you to make changes to your project timeline by dragging and dropping your timeline across a calendar. When the Gantt chart first loads, it looks pretty bleak. To reveal information, you need to click the Expand All button up here at the top. And then to make everything fit on your screen, you just come over 3 buttons to this little one that says Zoom to Fit. The Milestone Gantt allows you to respond to questions about shifting timelines. That's really what it's best used for. This website update is currently scheduled out, and you have someone come to you and they say, I need to shift up the publish date. Can you do that? And you say, well, let me find out. Using the Milestone Gantt chart, you can begin to shift your timeline. So you can say, all right, let me zoom in a little bit here. They want the publish to site date moved up to the prior Friday. That means I'm going to need to move this up to here, and this is going to need to come back. I can hypothetically shorten this. So if I click and drag, I can shorten the duration of a task. Maybe I give myself 2 days. So I need this to come back here, and so on. At a certain point, you as a project manager will recognize whether or not changing that deadline is realistic or not. And that's really the best use for a Gantt chart, because as you make changes in the Gantt chart, your changes are not saved until you click Save Changes. And that's intentional, because the intent is that you use the Gantt chart to slide things around, get a sense about whether or not you think this is a realistic expectation, your team can handle this change, and then if you say, yep, this is good, you click Save Changes in the top right corner, it automatically posts all of those changes to your project plan in the Tasks and Milestones area. So it's another way to go in and play with things and move things around. Finally, project completion, what that looks like. As tasks are completed within these task lists, like this design task list, if I complete all of these tasks, you'll notice that at the milestone level, there is a completion percentage bar related to every task list and an overall completion percentage related to the milestone. Project managers like to use this for a 10,000-foot view into your deliverable timeline. I can see at a glance that we're done with design. We're now in QA testing. I'm a little bit more than halfway done with all of the assigned tasks on this project. Once all of the tasks in all of the task lists are marked as complete, the milestone completion percentage bar caps out at 100%. But notice it is still yellow. Milestones themselves can be marked as complete. They can be marked as complete at any time, regardless of whether or not the task lists are marked as complete. It's typically the responsibility of the milestone assignee to do this, and it allows you to indicate that a project is finished even if not all the tasks were marked as done. This is really useful information for project managers who ever need to look back at old project plans and see how effective we were at completing a project plan in its entirety. So for example, maybe this design task list, we didn't get these things finished. The milestone is still considered complete. We did the website update, but why is it that our design team didn't mark a couple things as being finished? So milestone completion is an important step in being able to monitor efficiencies. After a milestone is completed, from the More drop-down menu, you can archive a milestone. And when you archive a milestone, it removes all of those included tasks from the assignee's personal task list. So it's a real nice way to clean things up and keep your team focused on what's specific to them. We can access archived milestones by going to the Options button in the top right corner and coming down to where it says Go to Archives. To unarchive a milestone, simply navigate to the milestone here on the list and click on Unarchive. So, to sort of recap the project management piece. Project management is organized into tasks, task lists, and milestones. Milestones are created typically for a project or deliverable. I forgot to add that to create a milestone, you just go to this New Milestone button up here in the top left corner, where you can start from scratch and create a new milestone, or select one from an existing template if you have any templates created. And to create task lists within a milestone, simply navigate to the milestone and click on Create Task List. If you forget to go this way, if you go up to New Task List and you click on New Task List, it will ask you what milestone you want to relate that task list to. Notice you cannot create task lists for completed milestones using this method. If I need to find a specific task and I'm not sure what milestone it is in, how can I easily find it? For example, MVP documentation. Great question. If you know the name of a task, you can search for it. The search tool at the top of the site will let you search for files, milestones, databases, people, all kinds of things. So there's a task right here called Insert Graphics. If I just come up here to where it says Search and I type in Insert Graphics, it'll pull up in my search look ahead. It'll also show me a little breadcrumb of the workspace that it's in. And if I click on this, it takes me directly into the task details area. So that's the simplest way. If you know the name of the task, you can just search for it. If you are in your My Tasks list, by clicking your name and going up here to Tasks, and you're looking for something in here, you can always sort by task title as well. So this sorts across all tasks in the entire system. So if there's one you're looking for, you might want to scan for it here. You can also scan for those things using these filtered lists up here on the top left corner. Maybe it was a task that you assigned to someone else. You can click I assign to others, and it will show you a list of tasks that you've created and assigned to other people. So great question. So that wraps up our presentation for today. Again, this is just a basic introduction to iMeet Central. From this presentation, we should all understand that iMeet Central is broken up into workspaces, and to find a project, you go into a workspace. Workspaces are used to upload, collaborate, and work on files, which are uploaded into the Files and Discussions area. Project plans are organized into the Project Management tab and is most often visited by going to the Tasks and Milestones area. I'll dive back into that workspace real quick. If you have any other questions, I'm happy to take those. Otherwise, that kind of wraps it up for today. Enjoy the rest of your day. Happy Wednesday, and I look forward to seeing you on a future call.